has rectified it and declared it unconstitutional. The one on the Inspector General of Police, that also went through public participation, went through committees. I hope you are a member of that committee. And I tried to scan the Hansard. I didn't see you opposing it that time. Honorable Jacob Midio was the leader of majority, and I remember him supporting it. You are leader. On the cyber crime, I can't remember.
Member of the committee.
Yeah, but it passed. And I am sure, you know, Mr. Speaker, you allow me on a light touch. Honorable Junet was also very powerful the last 3 months, the last 3 years. And if I am asked to say the many draconian or unconstitutional things he has did with his partners, that will be for another day, not for my vetting. But just because I said on a light touch.
I know, but you're honorable.
Because
my day will come for vetting. Today we are vetting him.
Yes.
Now he can get those issues and he's vetting.
He's vetting him in advance.
So I'm very sorry because I'm vetting him in advance.
On a light touch,
I said. So the Speaker, I think my security laws and that of the Inspector General are lesser crimes than than the one just on the political parties amendment bill. The Speaker, only Victoria, I think I answered that question. It is just like the one of Migingo. And now we have an MOU, KDF have an MOU with the Uganda Defense Forces, and the boundary committee is handling, and the international boundaries office at the office of the president. Now that we have an active, sober, energetic president and a workaholic president, a lot of the many issues Kenyans were facing, I can assure you will be resolved, including you will fish without no hindrance under the leadership of William Ruto. People will fish, farmers will have fertilizer, and cattle farmers, herders, pastoralists will have peace to herd their cattle. That I can assure you. Well, that is what we stand for as a coalition. Honorable Mukami, yes, the House passed the Veterans Bill just before we went on 7, I think in May. Now Kenya Defense Forces and Ministry of Defense is preparing the regulations. The advisory board already has been put in place to make sure that our veterans, those who are not doing very well, their children in that law, their children's school fees will be paid, their medical bill will be taken care of, and the regulations will be coming to the House soon once we form the committee on the relevant committee. So that bill is in place. The terminal ill, I said we have a wellness center. We are now building a number of hospitals have been built, and we're taking care of them. Honorable Wanyonyi, yes, the wall in Mandera, that is a practice that was picked from other jurisdictions. It was happened in the US, between US and Mexico. It is in Israel, it's in Egypt, it is in Pakistan. I think once if this house approves me, then we'll review. But still, KDF has put over 19 fortified bases along our border with Somalia for surveillance and for deterrence to make sure that our country is secure. And in the last 3 years, our country was very, very secure to the good work being done by Kenya Defense Forces. Honorable Ikaria, yes, we have Eldoret where we train our servicemen. We have Lanet where we train cadets. We have the National Defense College where not only Kenya but even the region send their top of officers. It's a prime college in the region. I'm sure the Defense Committee has visited. And then we now have the National Defense College. And we want to have our country to be a hub. And when they come even from other countries, they pay. The way we have Kenya School of Monetary Studies is a school of its kind in the region. Kenya School of Government, Kenya Revenue Authority, and I'm sure, Mr. Speaker, under your leadership, you will enhance the Parliamentary Institute, where we want to tap the talent in our country for neighboring countries to send. So, but the there is always Honorable career progression in KDF. Nakuru Academy, you have been denied. You know the reason why you have been denied. I want to confirm to you that not only me, the Commander-in-Chief will allow each and every leader to be given access in this area when the president or anybody in government is there. We were in Laikipia over the weekend, and I'm sure members, the governor, the senator, the women rep, and members of parliament from that region, all of them are with us. So that was why you were denied, because you were not, I think, politically correct, I may say. But I want to say it to all. Things have changed. As Honorable Duale said, there's freedom. So even if we go to other areas where we serve the people of Kenya, and leaders must be respected, whether from the MCA to the highest office. Leaders must be respected, and that's why I think those of us who have served in politics and in leadership, our officers will be very open to you. You will see a change. Speaker, I think I have finished.
You've exhausted those.
Yes.
Now, Naisola, Koech, and Mule.
Thank you, Chair.
And we will conclude with the Deputy Speaker.
Okay, thank you, Chair. And to the nominee, I strongly believe that for us to deal with cattle rustling in this country, once and for all, we have to actually treat it as terrorism. Yeah? And we need to deal with it decisively and holistically. And so apart from only dealing with it from a security perspective, from a development angle, how do you think we can use the military to open up these areas, especially on opening up of the roads, so that we can have easy, accessible, fast and effective response? And lastly, what measures or options will you recommend in the inclusion of young people who haven't gone to school but are actually known sharpshooters? I think you need them in the military.
Hon.Duale, my question will be on our Kenyan military has largely been respected because of how we operate. But there was an incident just during the election. There's been an allegation that one senior military officer was involved in trying to moderate the election. It is something that doesn't augur well with the military. We'll want to find out from you so that in future we do not have such incidences where military officers are used to execute political assignments.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mine is going to the nominee, Honorable Duale. You are aware we are living in a region where it's very volatile within our neighbors, and they have serious internal security challenges. And as you are aware, you're getting to a ministry whereby we have even elevated the National Defense College to a university, whereby quite a number of neighbors would wish to come and do training and do programs and exchange programs within Kenya. My fear and my concern is very clear, Honorable Duale. How are we going to make sure that the people who come for training in Kenya, and especially from the regions whereby we are not very sure of, they will be vetted, they will be looked at to make sure that they don't carry away your secrets, so that in case they need to be mischievous, you'll be in position to approve them early enough. That gives us the concern of what you have said about the tweet from Uganda. It's not just a tweet to look at from defense perspective. It is a threat to the Kenyan sovereignty, and it must be dealt with in a manner whereby it's not an issue of a cup of tea. It's an issue where it takes the 50 million Kenyans' lives into a scare. And I wish if you can elaborate on this and give us a plan. And I served with you in the appointment committee. We vetted Honorable General Kaisari here. And the one answer he gave us when the meeting was over, he'll not tell us in front of the cameras what he intends to do on issues of security and defense. So what you think is preview, no, don't say it.
Last in this batch, the Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Hon.Duale, I see you've tackled all the questions quite well, except I have one that I would like to hear from you. What is your view on the current methodology being used to recruit cadets to the military? The current methodology is where they check the height, the dental structure, the physique, the weight, whether they can do a 100-meter dash. Never mind that those who are checking the dental structure are not dentists, as opposed to having more modern methodologies of measuring their ability using objective measuring tools like psychometric tests and even a mental evaluation, because we know that a lot of them sometimes don't cope and they eventually get into mental illnesses as a result of the fact that they didn't really have the competence and the emotional ability to be able to take up the job. What's your view? Will you keep the same method, or you have some ideas of how to transform that? And also the issue, the fact that the military doesn't recruit at cadet level people with disabilities or people with various disabilities. Yet sometimes, even if someone is on a wheelchair, they're probably a brilliant IT expert, and it's a skill that is required in the military. Again, how is that as a human rights issue? Thank you.
I'll also ask you one or two small questions. You may recall, Hon.Duale, that through the African Union security architecture, it was designed to set up standby regional forces, East African Standby Force, West African, Central Africa, Southern Africa, and so on, for rapid deployment in helping deal with security concerns within those regions. Now, the East African one has not quite taken off because of budgetary issues and other things. As Defense Minister, how are you going to engage Parliament to give you a budget line, and how are you going to convince other defense ministers in the region to do the same so that we can actualize this force that can help deal with security challenges in our neighbors that have challenges like South Sudan, Somalia, and others? The second and last, during recruitment, and these members of Parliament may attest to this, we see some very unhealthy discrimination processes. If you are short, you can't go to the army. We see recruits being asked to open their mouths and see whether one tooth is missing, or if you have discolored teeth, or things, or if you have a scar on your back, things that really have no bearing in your capacity to act as a military officer. How are you going to deal with this? Because if a child at birth had a scar and has grown through life, gone to school properly, why should that scar be a deterrent in joining the army?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Chairman, let me start with Hon.Duale Sula. Yeah, Ksh.800M has been pandemic and chronic problem within the security architecture in our country. And I remember one time we wanted to amend the law and put it under the penal code. I don't think we have reached a stage where we should put them and categorize them under terrorism. And if you look at the Terrorism Act, the Speaker and Chair members, I don't think cattle rustling falls within that. Cattle rustling just needs a committed multi-security agency, a committed political will, a committed government that will make sure roads are open, development are taken to those regions, and culprits are dealt with. And even use Article 241, Sub-Article 3(2), C, as Honorable Russell has said. And this government is ready to do that. Secondly, more fundamentally, I think Kenya Defence Forces or the Ministry of Defence will set up bases and camps, serious camps, in those regions to deal with cattle rustling. And I can assure you, Honorable Member and the people watching me, that it will not be business as usual under the leadership and the Commander-in-Chief, Honorable William Ruto. It will not be. Secondly, I don't know, this civilian sharpshooter, where did he learn this skill? That self, becomes an issue. So how do you employ somebody already who is a sharpshooter? He must have learned that skill illegally and using so. But I think during Mzee Moi's time, there was a provision that, and I think it will help in the cattle rustling, a special recruitment criteria in some regions of our country, where you can even pick people who have gone up to class 8 or have not gone to school. We need to mop up those young people in that region who are becoming victims of cattle rustling and fine. But that is a policy that we will bring to the House and from the defense. So we will discuss with the Commander-in-Chief. It will be discussed at the National Security Council chaired by him, and I'm sure we'll find a solution. Honorable Ksh, the military have a place. They have a place under Article 241, Kenya Defence Forces Act. They have a place under the KDF Act. And the military, or our security agents, have no place in the democratization and in the election of our country. I don't want to be very fair to the gentleman who was there, but from my reading of the Constitution, I think that was not only him, all and his colleagues who went there is similar to what happened in the US, the Capitol Hill invasion. That was an affront on democracy. You cannot circumvent the will of the people. The will of the people must be respected. So that is a matter, I think, for the Commander-in-Chief, and that is a matter for the people of Kenya and the Constitution. And I'm sure once you approve me, because the Constitution says our defense forces must not be involved in political partisan. They must be professional. They cannot engage in things outside their mandate. So it is not only that officer. He has not used, and if I was him, I should have just declined. But I think the environment at that time was not conducive. I mean, it was a very bad environment. Maybe he's a victim of the political environment at that time. But going forward, I think our military, our police, our national security organs, they have their place, and they must read the Article 4 of the Constitution. Kenya is a democratic multi-party state. So the will of the people, nobody, including the incumbent, can overturn. And I think that I'll stop it there. Honorable Mule, you talked about, yes, the issue of our neighbors. Even our soldiers go to one of the best colleges in the world, Stanford and UK Royal College. So our neighbors coming to our National Defense College is part of the practice worldwide. And what they are taught is what is taught in other military institutions. They are not exposed to our hardware, they are not exposed to our strategies, they are not exposed to our on our how we run our military. So we are very safe. And finally, the Kenya Defense Forces and the National Security Council will always, under the Constitution, they will explore diplomacy, and war will be the last option. So we usually deal with diplomacy, make sure that ourselves and the region is safe. Yeah, the Deputy Speaker raised the issue of recruitment. I think one of the issues that I have to grapple with if this House appoints me, approves me, is the issue of recruitment. That is the elephant in the room. I mean, all my 15 years, Mr. Speaker, is how recruitment is done. You know, people run, about 100 of them, and in the evening you are told there are some people who are not in the field who are picked. I mean, you know, it's good to say it. So there's a lot of discontentment in terms of recruitment. But I think world over, we must have the criteria of physical fitness. I mean, if you are 34 and Camarasa will agree with me, if you have to go to training and your weight is 35, and in the training you're going to carry a bag of 40, then you will die. And so KDF doesn't want to recruit people, and at the end of the day, the person. So they have to look at the physical fitness. That's everywhere. The training is very vigorous. The training is tough. So it's not, you can't just pick. They can't just pick anybody. So they must pick the best of the best in terms of physical fitness. Even for the cadets, they said the issue of do we integrate people with disability? I think it's a matter for discussion. It's a matter that the Kenyan people, in consultation with the Defense Ministry and National Security Council, to discuss. Speaker, you have raised a very good point. I mean, this is the Stand Regional Force for rapid deployment was agreed on. Yes, even the peace security organ of the AU. But you are aware, as a former foreign minister, that many times countries default on their contribution, not only to stand by regional force, but even to IALA. At one time, Mr. Speaker, we had agreed even our members to IALA should be part of our parliament in terms of salary and remuneration, because they can stay for 3 months without getting salary. So I think countries don't want to commit themselves in paying their part of share and remittance. But I think ourselves from Kenya, they have a budget line, and we have been remitting our bit to the East Africa Stand Force. Yeah, again, the Speaker, you talk about recruitment. So recruitment is coming in. Is a matter that I think I should pick it up. Must be an area that needs serious reforms, very, very serious reforms. We need to know, because I have asked, and the KDF Act stipulates that the slots given to every sub-county is based on the number who are in the force from that sub-county, based on the census. But you know, an ordinary person in the county, for example, doesn't know how many are in the force, so they're given 3 slots. We need to have a fair distribution of the Kenya Defense Forces, even for security purpose. We should not have a situation that one region or one community has is 20 or 30% of the forces. It's even risk. So the Constitution and the KDF Act stipulates very well that there must be consideration in terms of region, in terms of gender, in terms of ethnicity, in the recruitment of men and women to our forces. So I think we might not been doing that, and the recruitment, I'm sure the Committee on Defense and Foreign Relations, when they are formed, that is an area we need to reform. As Honorable Sholei said, the height, the person checking, is he a dental expert? How many kilometers you need to run? Of course, we must get the best of the best physically. Mr. Speaker, you know, when if you allow me, Mr. Speaker, I served in NYS, and the Speaker, there used to be something called marksman. You know, the tall person used to be at the end, but these days, if you see parade, you find very short people. So I think there are certain criteria, physical fitness that must be addressed to. But I'll take that as an area of reform, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Hon.Duale.